Most events are forgettable, not because the people running them don't care, but because they're optimizing for logistics instead of memory. I'm Jay Minash, Senior Director of Strategy and Growth at Exhibitus, and this is Event Experience Experts. Every episode, I sit down with the creatives, strategists, and senior leaders who are raising the bar on what live brand experiences can actually do. If you're done accepting forgettable, you're in the right place. Today, I'm talking with Nicola Kasner. Nicola spent years as SAP's Global VP of Event Marketing Strategy, running events at a scale most of us only think about in theory. Then she did something most people don't do in that seat. She left. She left to build her own advisory practice, The Event Strategist, and now she's CEO of the Event Leaders Exchange, an invite-only community for the people running events inside the world's biggest companies. So her job now is producing something for an audience whose entire career is knowing what good looks like. Welcome to the show, Nicola.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I can't overstate. There was a comment you put on LinkedIn about think about my job. I'm planning events for event people. It's like the stress, because I've been going to Exhibitor Live, Experiential Marketing Summit. It's like I look at them like you know your audience is us, right? Like, why is this not the most perfect thing? And you're doing that on steroids.
Yeah, I always said running events for events people would be the worst job in the world, and now I do it for heads of events. Like, talk about a sucker for punishment, right?
Yeah, well, it leads perfectly into the first question. You have spent years literally doing this from inside one of the biggest companies in the world, and then you were doing the consulting. What conviction from your years in that seat made you actually say yes to producing events for arguably the toughest audience there is out there?
Yeah, and I think it's bigger than events. So when I was at SAP, I'm a marketer. Even though I grew up in events, I consider myself a marketer before I consider myself an events person, because I really truly believe in focusing on the business of events and understanding that every event is meant to drive a purpose and achieve a goal, versus the events business, which is about the logistics and the beds and seats and all of those type of things, which are important, but unless you know what an event is meant to achieve, how can you design something to be successful? So anyway, I've really believed that, and I was a really damn good marketer and an event marketer, but I had no idea what these people did for a living, right? Like, we're talking enterprise software, multi-million-dollar purchases, and I always said IT people were great to have a beer together, but they wouldn't be why I went to a conference. And so after I left SAP in January of 22, I consulted, and I realized that I actually did miss being part of a team. I missed making a difference. I remember I had said to my husband, if someone takes my strategy and puts it in a drawer, I don't care. I don't have to watch it die. But I did care, and I really wanted to be able to drive change. If I back up, ELX, I didn't start ELX. I just have the privilege of leading it now. But ELX started in September of 2021. So right around the time I was leaving SAP, it wasn't on my radar at all. And then I heard about this community, and I was like, well, I want to be a member. I have a lot that I can contribute, and I was turned down, because there's very, very clear criteria around who can be a member for a reason. And sometimes there's value in protecting a very small group, right? And that's what we do. So I applied and I got turned down. So it turns out that I had to become CEO in order to be able to join the club.
I love it. But
it's been great. Yeah. And it's honestly, when we were chatting before this, you said that what you do, Aaron, now is one of the best jobs you've ever had. This is by far the best job that I've ever had as well.
It makes everything better, doesn't it?
It 100% does.
There's also something else I was reading about you earlier, and I don't know, well, we haven't spoken about this before. I'm obsessed with the book Unreasonable Hospitality. I read it once, I was like, I didn't get enough, I didn't take enough notes. I read it a second time, cover to cover, underlining, literally have a doc, like 20 pages of notes of like, how can I apply this to my life, my job, the people. I saw that you were there at the Nashville Summit, the Unreasonable Hospitality Summit. Is Will Guidara. I mean, I also met him at South by Southwest, I'll say that. He seemed like the genuinely nicest person as well, which makes me feel good about the book behind it. But what would you say, what did it teach you about making people feel something instead of, especially the people you're talking to or producing for, assessing the run of show? Like, what did you
Uh,
learn most from that?
I love that you asked this question. The event was incredible. I loved the book. I bought it for my team. I had them all to read it because the concept of unreasonable hospitality is something that I think has just been core to my DNA my entire life. And so I loved the book. The event was reasonable, and no disrespect to Will and team. They ran restaurants really well. I am
Hmm.
the equivalent of their New York Times food critic, right? When I'm going to an event, there were a lot of really great touches. In fact, I've got the welcome letter that they gave me right here because I'm stealing this idea for my event next week. There were some things that were really great touches, but others that, as event professionals, we look at from a very, very different lens, right? The small, little, tiny things that make a difference. So we, when you're planning events for people that have this experience, like collectively, this community plans 177,000 events per year and 12.9 billion of spend. Like we're talking a lot of events and a lot of experience in the room, but people can feel the intent of unreasonable hospitality. And I'll just there's so many different examples that I can give about this, but I'll just give one that happened right now. Just before this call, I just got off the call. We run 4 in-person events per year. We had a new member join in February before our previous event, our last event, and 2 days later she came to the event. She didn't know anyone, and she didn't know that 50% of the people that are at our events are attending for the first time. She had no idea what to expect. And she came to our event. We always do a first timers reception because I never want anybody walking in a room and me being the only person that they know. But and she was comfortable after that point. But what she shared with us after, because we also do a new member onboarding call, and because she'd attended the event so quickly, she hadn't done that new member onboarding call. And so she was explaining her experience about at the event and how in her head she was about going, how scared she was to go to be in this room with all of these leaders. We all get imposter syndrome, right? And
Hmm.
she had it massively. She was freaked out, and I never want anybody to feel that way. So, like I said, 50% of the members that attend our events are new because we're growing so rapidly. So, when our members registered, when people registered for our event that's coming up in a week and a half, if they were a new member, they got a letter from me, an email from me immediately saying, "We are so glad you are coming. Just so you know, you are not walking into a room that is all established groups and cliques. These are the things we're going to do." And one of them is we're going to have a call with all of the new members. We'll record it if you can't come, and we'll have a call so you can learn about the event. So we just finished that call where we walked them through the agenda, what to expect, what makes our events different, how they can get the best experience out of it. And while the call was, we'd asked them to opt in during registration. We created a WhatsApp group. So there is now a first
Oh,
timer
wow.
WhatsApp group that is live for our people, for our members that met on this call just now, to be able to ask each other questions. So they're not feeling overwhelmed walking into the room. Even though we're all events professional, we still feel nervous and
Of
overwhelmed
course.
going
We're
to an event.
human.
And so that's to me an example of how we try to apply the unreasonable hospitality concept to what we do in our work as well.
I really love that. I'm going to give you another, I'll say tip. So I went to a conference last September, similar kind of feeling. It was the GTM conference. Have you heard of Pavilion Community?
Oh yeah, totally.
So I've been a member of that since end of 2020 when I, stepped into a marketing role and I was like, I should probably figure out how to do this. And so last year was the first conference I went to that they put on called GTM and like talk about imposter syndrome. I'm like, in the event industry, a big company is 1,000 people, like, and that's even massive in our world. That's like the smallest company in the room in this company or in this conference. And what I really enjoyed and it made it easier to walk in, they actually set up networking calls, like one-to-one calls, like a lunch roulette type of system for people that were going to the conference. So it's like, even if you knew nobody going, whether you're a new member or not, it's like you have at least that one person. So it's like, I think on top of that, WhatsApp, I think that could be a really nice, like, it's great to put the group together. I think it does put everybody at ease, and you walk in, it's like, oh, okay, I know some people. And then you see them in person, you get all excited. It's like, oh, so nice to meet you in person.
I saw you. I mean, I don't know about you, but, and I think every event professional should do this, should steal really good things from events that they go to that work
Yeah.
and learn what things don't work. How do you know what it's like to be an attendee if you've never been to an event? So that WhatsApp group is something. I went to the TED conference the year I left SAP, so 2022. They did something similar, and I was like, that is brilliant. I'm going to use that one day. Yeah, I steal from all kinds of ideas all over the place.
Steal like an artist. I referenced this book in talking to somebody yesterday, and it's true. It's like there aren't really a lot of original ideas. There might be two ideas that you blend together that make it an original idea, but yeah, it's a beg, borrow, and steal from different industries. Everybody's doing different things. It's like, oh, I love that idea. I mean, that's why it's like it's hard to get experience.
And you have to try. The most dangerous phrase in the English language, as far as I'm concerned, is that we've always done it this way.
I get a visceral reaction when people say that to me. I'm like, and it doesn't mean you need to start from scratch and do something brand spanking new, but at the same time, it's like, hey, you can evolve it. Like we can take the same guts and just like let's tweak it here, let's tweak it there.
And don't throw the baby out with the bathwater if you don't need to, but you need to examine why are you doing those things. Another concept from Unreasonable Hospitality that we just took is where they mapped out the guest experience in the restaurant, like every single touch point. We just recently did that with our member onboarding experience, and I say in my interview, we communicate mostly by newsletter, and then I found out going through this journey with my team, we send them 8 emails in the first week, and I'm like, what does that feel like on the other end? They're like, what the hell did I do joining this community if you're going to email me that many times? So you have to just think about all of your processes, all of the things you do. And even if they're the right things to do, the way you do them really should be open for interrogation all the time.
Yeah, no, I love hearing that, and I think for me on Reasonable Hospitality, besides the like very clear correlations to our industry, back of house, front of house, and all those battles, the amount of special experiences that he called out, that it's like, yeah, we didn't know anything about these people, but we heard them say something, we turned it into in a moment. It's like we're talking to our attendees or our partners for months at a time. It's like, what are we doing with that information? Like, and you can ask literally like one personal question every time you talk to them and get this like entire book of like little touch points you can get. You know, I start to make mental notes of like, oh, that's their favorite drink. Oh, that's their favorite snack. And I'm like, why don't I just create a form and just send it to them? Like a Google form that's like, hey, can you take like 5 minutes? I'll even do it with you if you want. And it's like, collect all these things as like something you're excited about in the next 6 months.
And then I'm going to keep it on file and not to ask you again. Because that's worse if you fill in a form and they ask you every single time to fill in a form, right?
Well, yeah, that I feel like that's a form of torture. And actually, to me, that would be like, you're not a very good partner because it's like,
yeah, exactly.
Twice is fine. Anything past that, I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Exactly.
So something else you talked about recently was about swag. And everybody has very strong opinions about swag. And I liked your counter position because I'm speaking of Liz before, stuff we all get. And so much of it is junk, but I really like your point.
I've never heard that analogy. I love that. I used to call it shiny shit, but I like stuff we all get much better.
yeah. I mean, but it's so true, and so much of it, you know, I think the stat, I forget what it is now, but like 95% of it just goes in the trash. Yeah. But you said, you know, when the item, the experience, the operational plan, and the audience all line up, it can actually be really special. Do you have a specific instance where like that really had that effect on you and really made it work operationally, especially?
Absolutely. I'll give you an example from before I joined SAP. I was leading events for a data management company, and the previous year, pre-me, they had scanned the beer line to get leads. A scan is not a lead, first of all. I will not go on a tangent, but I feel that is not a lead. That is a warm breathing body. And if they were in the beer line, they are sure as hell not coming to buy anything from you later. So first of all, your scanning strategy needs work. But one of the things we did was we designed our booth we wanted to create a line. That was one of the key, because we wanted our team, so we would always staff. I do not like staffing booths, third part, like we're talking about a third party event strategy here. I don't like staffing booths with sales. If it's not their territory, not their client, they don't work it the right way. So we would always staff with sales engineers. And I'm going to back up before I finish the story. I had been at an event where we had a 10 by 10, which normally I would not have gone to, but like I said, I like to go to other events. I love to see what people are doing. And it was actually Cisco Live. And I was sitting, I missed my flight. So I'm sitting in the booth and I'm listening to somebody come up, talk to one of the sales engineers, and they're like, yeah, I'll have so-and-so get to you. This was someone that was a customer, needed some information. Then someone else came up and they said, yeah, we'll follow up with you on that. He's scanned them, but he hasn't made any notes. And I'm like, how are you going to follow up with those people? How are you going to, how are we capturing that information? And he said, oh, we can't. And I'm like, does this happen all the time? And he said, yes.
Yes.
So from that experience, and we then created a strategy where we matched our sales engineers, and you needed somebody that was technical enough to understand the product. Like if it was me as a note taker, I would have been like, what do you want me to write? Like what's important? I wouldn't have known. But somebody that knows the product. So we used SDRs. And so we brought SDRs and on site to this event because we were making more than $1 million investment in it. So it was a massive investment for us. And we brought them on site and we put them in teams and we incentivized each team. They worked as a team. They had their own scanner. One of them was meant to talk. One of them was meant to capture notes. We incentivized them on meaningful conversations. And a meaningful conversation could have been happy customer. It didn't have to be a lead. It was a meaningful conversation. But in order for this strategy to work, we needed a line, right? And the line formed around the booth. Think about the whole Disney experience. While you're waiting in line, they're entertaining you throughout the whole thing. We needed something that would create a line, and we actually had all of our content and our demos on the outside of the booth where the line was going to form around. So people were, while they were standing in line, and this was a data management company, so those people go for their annual t-shirt quantity for the year, they stand in line for t-shirts. We knew this about our audience. So our teams of sales engineers and SDRs worked the line. When they got to the front of the line, there was a game. And I don't know, I'm sure you've noticed this at trade shows, like if a line forms, people just get in a line without even knowing why they're getting in a line.
It's everywhere in life, actually. It's not even
just trade shows. Exactly.
So I wonder what this line's for. Let's just stand in it.
Just having the line created demand. Now, not everybody in there was a valid customer or a prospect or a potential one, but they might have been, but unless we were talking to them, we would have never known. So that's why the teams were incentivized on documenting these conversations, meaningful conversations. By the time people got to the front of the line, the actual prize, it was quite a long time ago. It was like when the new Star Wars had come out, you know, that little rabbit, that robot thing that was orange and white, like, and
they were
so hard to get. And we had gotten 7 of them. So we had this game that we had created where people, if they'd followed us while they were in line, they got an extra try. They got all these different things. So we were like building activation as well. This is a really long-winded story. I promise I will get to the
No, it's a good story.
And so depending on how they activated with us, they would get extra opportunities. And basically it was a random timer, like, you know, it was a magnet. And if it said either you win or you don't win. If they won the prize. Right? And then we take a picture of them, we put it on social. If they didn't, they got a really nice t-shirt to add to their t-shirt quantity for the year. And people were wearing our t-shirts around the next day. We told them if we saw them wearing our t-shirts, they'd have another opportunity to come and try and win the prize. Like it was all part of a strategy. Our number of scans, I think, went down by 57% because we were not scanning the beer line. But our number of direct opportunities, and this was only like, I left there, but I had reported it, I think at 12 weeks, had gone up 386%. Every night I was sending the information back to my marketing operations team, and they were telling us, we were reporting in the booth meeting how much pipeline we had touched, how many new companies or new customers, you know, against all of our targets. because that's also important, is feedback to the team so that they know that they're performing and so forth. But by the time I started going through the content, the comments, I was like, please just put hot, because I removed all the banned questions. Those are the worst things in a scanner. Like, do you have budget? Do you have authority? Like, who asks those questions? So just document the conversation. And the next day I was like, please just put hot lead if it's hot, because there are so many in here that I don't even know what to bubble up to the top. The impact was massive, but it was all driven out of swag. Also understanding our ICP, and then understanding what our strategy was and how we were going to build and use that swag to build and develop, activate our strategy.
I love that. There's so many reasons I love that. Anything that's done with purpose and knowing your audience is going to be more impactful. The three areas that really stuck to me. I love the teamwork aspect, the SDR with the sales engineer, because first of all, nobody wants to talk to salespeople. As a lifetime salesperson since birth, I will say, unless you have to disarm them first and get them into a conversation, but they want to know how to use the thing, and especially in a technical audience like that. I also love the Star Wars connection, because I think if Star Wars measured their merch at trade shows compared to their global sales, I'm curious what that percentage is, because all the Lego sets and different toys. So I love that teamwork, because you can't focus on the conversation and take the notes, and you can't possibly remember everything, even if it's a 2-minute conversation, let alone a 5, 10, 15, which is what obviously you're hoping it is. Then what I also love is the SDR portion of it, because there's no position more qualified to qualify an individual and transition them to the right person in a very quick, efficient manner that doesn't make them feel like they're just like an object, where they're an actual human being, you're having a conversation. The Disney line aspect. Now, you probably don't know this, but I talk about Disney more than I care to. My family is a bunch of Disney fanatics, especially my wife, but my children obviously too. But the Disney line, and making it a purposeful line, that's something we talk about a lot of times with clients. It's like, yeah, you want the line. The line is great. It gives you a captive audience. But I love you mentioned putting like the demos on the side, so people are like, yeah, they're waiting in line for the thing to play the game, but it's like they're looking at a screen, they have something to do, they have someone talking to them, and like, hey, you can actually just look right here. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to be sold. You don't have to sit through a
You
demo.
watched a demo. You know what? You get 3 more opportunities to try and win at the front now, right? Like, it was all part of the same process.
I love it. I think, and when you come with that purposeful, tech shows more than any other are gimmick filled, and you can't avoid the gimmick, because then people are just not going to stop at your space. But when you give the gimmick purpose and you're collecting information, it's like, it's the whole give to get mentality. It's like, I will give you this cool experience. You can win this thing. You're going to get the t-shirt to fill out your collection, or stickers. Yep. They love stickers too, especially. Yep. But yeah, it just makes it all purposeful, and the quality of what you're getting out of it. That the lead count going down, and that I forget the exact number you said, but
Scan
like 300
count going down.
So the scan count going down, but the quality going up. It's like, that's exactly what you want. I had a client a few years ago, and they had a similar experience. It's like, hey, we're going to do the gimmick. Can you just ask 4 questions? Like, don't just let them do the thing and walk away with the thing. Ask them a few questions, get a little bit of information, and then, hey, if it makes sense, let's keep them around if they want, or we have at least something meaningful to talk about them. And it just, yes. So that is like purpose-built swag or experiences in your space, and that is exactly what I was hoping you were going to talk about. So I wanted to move back into the ELX side of your world. These people are going to, you said, literally producing thousands of events a year. They're managing these massive programs. They're probably dealing with stakeholders up, down, left, right. How do you make the business case to them to get one of these corporate event leaders that, they already have limited time, but to bring them into ELX, spending time with you, spending time at events, these networking calls, like what's that business case there?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and it's not one that I probably have an easy answer to. I think it's a combination of many things. Knowing you are with your peers, people that understand you and what you do day in and day out, is very different than going to an event in the quote unquote events industry, where you've got suppliers, and no disrespect to suppliers, but you've got suppliers, you've got junior planners, you've got people all different levels, you've got it's a mismatch. We exist to serve one audience and one audience only, which is the senior corporate event leader. So every one of our members has to meet a certain criteria in terms of company size, scope of their role, I don't look at titles because titles are the least consistent signal in the corporate world. So titles don't even make name badges in our events. But we need to understand they need to have a scope. They need to be responsible for a large team. It may not be the number one person, it might be a number two in a completely decentralized organization where they've got massive responsibility, and they need to have a certain amount of spend. And it's not because we want to collect big logos. By nature, that results in big logos. You think of every Fortune 100 company, they're probably most of them are members. But what that does, it means we're putting people with like challenges, like scope, like complexity together in the room. So they already know that they are with their peers, right? And people that get them. So that's one piece of it. We don't charge a membership fee. Our members don't pay to be a member, but it doesn't mean it's free because they commit to active participation. And that includes attending at least one event per year. So, and it's not a hope, it's a condition of membership. And so all of our members agree to that. All of our members also agree to Chatham House rule, which I think is also part of it, which I didn't even know what that meant when I joined, but basically with Chatham House rule, you can use what you said, you can use what you learn, but you can never say who said it, what company said it, that person works for, or who else was part of the conversation. That is part of our DNA. We're very proud of that. And our members respect that as well. So I think it's a combination of all kinds of things. Plus, I've been in their seat, right? Like I said before, when I was at SAP, I had no idea what these people did for a living, and I was a damn good event marketer. I know what these people are dealing with day in and day out. I know what adds value to them and what doesn't. So we're very intentional about how we create member value and drive member value. And that's our number one filter because all I have is trust. So I think it's this combination of multiple things. We actually do a member survey every year, and our members told us that on average they were planning on attending 3.1 events themselves in 26, and 1.5 were going to be ours.
That's amazing.
Which is amazing to me because they know
it says everything about what you're doing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Our NPS is so we've grown rapidly. My first year in 24, our event that's coming up in a couple of weeks, we had 24 members. That was 12 weeks after I started that attended. Last year we had 75. This year we're going to have 125, and our NPS scores are going up. It went up from 88 to 92. Those NPS scores are absolutely unheard of in the industry, like anywhere. I mean, yeah. I think the average is a 32. So they're unheard of. And we went up as we grew because we're very intentional. So how do we keep the magic? How do we protect that?
How do you create moments of unreasonable hospitality?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we listen to feedback. And I think that is probably one of the most important things. We truly listen to feedback. A lot of the changes we made to this program are based on what we heard last year. I always say there's no shortage of advice when you're dealing with event professionals who
look at every nook and cranny,
every fault and everything to criticize. But those scores say it all to me.
No, that's amazing. It makes a lot of sense. And I was thinking, as you were talking about, just the limited amount of suppliers being there it makes it such a more open and freeing space. I was thinking about EMS, where I was just there. There were a couple speakers who were like, oh, I really want to meet this person. I've met them in the past, 15 years ago. It's been so long. I went to their speaking session. I saw them on the show floor, and any moment they were free for, literally, it was like a split second. 3 people swarmed them.
Yeah.
Person. I'm going to just add to the madness, which makes you not want to go in, especially in those positions. So to have this private group of like-minded professionals that are dealing with the same chaos that you're dealing with and all that. Yeah, I think, no, it's amazing. I remember when I first heard about ELX, I was like, hey, how do I become a member? And I was very quickly oh, never.
Yeah.
but I love seeing the names and the camaraderie and seeing what you're posting about it and what they get out of the events. I think there's so much you can learn from that type of group that you can't experience everything. So to have it from all those such senior point of views, and again, not title wise, but what they're actually accomplishing, it's very powerful and very cool.
It is. And I feel a very strong obligation to give back to the industry as well. I think we all have a responsibility to leave this industry better than when we found it. Small ways that we do that, we do 2 research studies a year. Some Last year we did one on compensation that is only available to members, but then we also did one on sort of what are the challenges that leaders are dealing with right now, and there were sort of 5 key themes that came out of that, and we released that research to the industry. We have a job board on our website. Such a small and easy way for us to give back, but if any, when you've got 325 members working for the largest corporations in the world, that's a lot of people that are hiring for roles, and not everybody that's looking might know these people. So our members share with us, they share in Slack or they share with us, and we'll put it on our job board, which is just a central place for people to go to look for roles, and for posting. So just small little things that we can do to give back, because I think we all have that responsibility as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's why I'm a certified trade show marketer. I got the full diamond certification. It's why I'm a part of the review process for the portfolios. It's like sometimes it is like a form of torture to read those things, but I'm like, no, I have to do it. It's not an obligation, but I feel like it's my obligation to do that and to give back. And no, I totally relate to that. All right, so I'm gonna completely change directions on this one,
Right.
and you post a lot about AI and how to use it effectively. The rapid pace of change is obviously insane, and I'm curious about how you're adapting and evolving. And well, I'll say, really, what are some of the best practices you have, and how you're using AI to really, I guess, change your work day to day? But I'll leave it even more open. Like, what are the
Yeah.
best uses you have for it?
So I'm going to talk about me and ELX, and then I'll talk about the profession, because I think they're 2 different things. We are a very small company. We are very by nature. We have to be very nimble, and I am by far, if not, actually, you take two of my. There's 5 of us in total, but 2 are part-time, so 4 FTEs. You take 2 of them and combine their ages, they're not the same age as me. So I am by far the oldest in our group. So they are all Gen Zs. In many cases, I've pushed them, because I told you before we started recording, I've been very passionate about learning about AI, leaning into AI. So we're an AI forward company by far, because it allows us to scale in a way that we wouldn't be able to do otherwise. But I think it's important to think about where you use AI that makes the most sense, not for AI's sake, right? Like, where can it give us capacity to scale? Where does it add value? Where does it take away value? There's that whole concept of agency, right? And the human agency working in partnership with the AI. So we use it a lot, and like I said, this company, this podcast that I listen to, and shout out to them, because it's called the Artificial Intelligence Show. I highly recommend it. It's 1 hour a week, and it's really everything you need to know that's happened this week in AI is summarized. So it's a way to keep on top. Doesn't mean it helps you use the tools, because using the tools and knowing what's happening are 2 different things. But they do an event, and I was like, oh, I wonder how they did their convince your boss letter. Surely they used AI for that. No, it was still a PDF. And I was like, that is crazy to me. This is the lowest hanging fruit we have as an industry. Like, let's take those things that we've been doing, like we said earlier, that we've been doing, and think about what can we do where can AI add more value? So that convince your boss letter, that's an email or a static template that somebody copies, is useless. I have never seen one of them that is any good. So what we did, and I started it, and then I transferred it to my team to try to break, is we trained a custom GPT on our event on our member profile and on objections that leaders, their bosses, that they may need to, no matter how senior they are, everybody has to convince their boss to go to an event, unless they're the CEO, really. How What were some objections that their leadership might have? And because of the nature of our community, some of them would be, are you sharing secrets with competitors, right? And so we trained the model on that so that somebody could go in and say, it was prompted, it started with questions, what kind of information do you want to include? And it created a customized template for them or email for them that they could use. Is it going to be perfect? No, but it's going to be 95% of the way there, and it's going to be way better than any static PDF letter that sits on someone's website. So that's just one little example. I think we did this research study last year, and adoption was relatively low. I found, but this was a year ago. We have seen the data, and certainly people are leaning into AI more, realizing they have to use it, they have to be fluent with it. So I think we're now moving from the theoretical to the true application of AI, but then it's overwhelming. Like, I do write about it, and and share some information on LinkedIn. I am AI forward. Every single day, I'm like, what the hell now? I don't know how to do this. Like, it's overwhelming. There's so much, it's changing so fast, it's so rapid. So one of the things that we talk about a lot in ELX is AI and use case applications that make sense. One of the sessions we're doing at our event in a couple of weeks is 5 members are actually they have 5 minutes each, are going to be doing presentations where they share exactly use cases of AI that they're using in their teams, in their day-to-day work, in their events, because we all learn from each other, and we get better together. Because otherwise, you could just get so overwhelmed with it, and then you get decision paralysis or whatever. But I also do think that for teams, event teams, scope is expanding quicker than headcount consistently. AI can help with that. But teams also need to fence time for innovation and not just delivery. Where can AI help? AI can help a lot in that innovation. It needs the time and the effort and thinking through how to do it. So I'm excited about the future. I think as event professionals, I'm not going to say the same thing that everybody's saying, the trust factor around events, blah, 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 blah. Like, everybody knows this. Great. We're having our moment. Finally, we've deserved our moment for a long time. Let's own our moments, and let's let AI lift our profession, because that's what it has done, but let's let it help our profession as well in the way that we do things.
Yeah, I was about to say my favorite line about AI is like, I use it all the time, and I'll share some examples in a sec, but it's like, yeah, my favorite part about AI is it made events more impactful because you can't fake it. It's, to your point, the trust. It's real. We're standing face to face, or we're on a computer like this where it's like, yeah, you can tell I'm not a hologram of myself.
Right, exactly.
Would be pretty cool. But yeah, I think, and you'll appreciate this is going back earlier in our conversation, talking about unreasonable hospitality. I built an entire attendee experience for an upcoming event. I'm like, hey, here are the 8 different things we're trying to accomplish across the 3 days of this event. I need little touches of unreasonable hospitality. And I dropped in my notes of like what really stood out to me. And let me tell you, Nicola, the edits I needed to make to this were so minor that I'm like, this is incredible.
That is cool. I love that.
And there were certain things it's like definitely not going to be able to do it. And it's like, but it was like certain little like surprise and delight moments, or like, hey, first comer to this event, pull them aside and do something special for them so they know that this is how we treat people. But yeah, it's like, I use it for helping with LinkedIn and email like everybody else does, but the amount of thinking when it's like, I'm in my house, I can't just walk over to someone's desk and talk to them, and everybody's so busy. It's like, let me just use Claude as my thought partner today. And I bounce those ideas off other people, of course, as well, but it's like, it's just that instant thought partner. And I have a spouse that is like finally not anti-AI. She's like, I don't trust it. She's not a person that runs to technology, whereas I'm like, ooh, cool, new shiny toy. Let me play with this. And I took a course earlier this year through Pavilion that was an AI and go-to-market. And I can't apply, I would say, most of it. But the best thing I got out of it were so many ideas of things I could build. You talked about something you built earlier with the salary, how you can drop your own personal information in there. Well, I built a trade show budget calculator in there. And so quickly, it was all based on stuff in my head. I'm like, well, let me refine this. Let me drop proposals in it, cut out any, personal information. And it's like, let's really refine this to like per square foot numbers. And now I'm working on it for the event side. It's like per attendee numbers. So it's like, okay, we have a general idea of like based on the city, based on the size, based on how advanced it is. And it is like, I just find it magical. And yes, of course, you have to be careful. I do have a paid subscription, so it doesn't go outward too much. But yeah, no, I think the future is very exciting. A little nerve wracking.
And I think it's using the right tool for the right thing, right? So I have a paid subscription to both Chat and Claude. Claude is my strategic partner. It is my thought partner by far. It's like dealing with an adult versus the overeager teenager, which Chat is. But Chat is really good in helping me take emails that, like, I would have spent hours working on to say, this is what I want to say. Here's the context, give it all of those things. And it'll get me really close. And that saves me a ton of time. But Claude is terrible at that. But then, I don't know, have you used Livable yet? Shout out to Livable.
No,
We actually have a member that just joined from Livable as well.
Okay.
But that's what we built our salary calculator on. It allows you to build an app, well, on anything, about anything in real time. It is so easy. So an example is we do assigned seating for one of the dinners at our event. And not because I know who people will like, because I don't, but I know that if I leave the room alone, people are going to sit with the 4 people that they texted on the way here, well, like every other event that they do. And I want to shake it up. I want to mix it up. That's what we exist for. And so it has been probably in the time I've been here, we do it at every event. It is the most time consuming thing I do. And I was like, I wonder if it could help me for my seating plan. And my team, Chloe, I think Chloe Richardson. Chloe went in, built me an app. And so I'm going to do it this afternoon. I'm going to work on my seating plan, but they tried it. My team ran last year's seating plan through it, and it actually turned out better than anything I could do in all of those hours. So I think that's also part of it too, right? Is experimenting, thinking about what could I use? What do I need an app for? What could I use these things for?
No, that's amazing. We only have a few minutes left, so because I could talk about AI for another hour easily. But I'm going to say, so my last question, obviously between ELX and your history and your career, you're connected to more senior event leaders than, I don't know, I'll say anybody in the industry. But I also know ELX is under, Chatham House rules. So I'll ask this and say, if you can't answer it, that's also okay. But who's doing work that deserves more attention than it's getting right now?
As in a company, or...
I'll leave it to you. Company or person, or if there's a specific event, you're like, that's an amazing event. I wish I were a part of it.
I don't know that I can really answer that. I see a lot of really innovative things that are happening. I would take pieces from many different events that I'm seeing and bring them all together. I'm very fascinated with the whole digital twin concept and how you can use that and apply that into events. And many of our members are doing that through AI. But I don't know that there's one. I think we as an industry, we're all trying to evolve our craft the best that we can. In some cases, people are really just focused on just keeping their head above the water versus the overall experience at an event, and that breaks my heart. I think, I'm sorry, I don't know that I can give you a true answer and say a who.
No, that is all right. I think even the digital twin answer is something I can lean into a little bit because I mean, all of this is just so fascinating and what we can do with technology. I think leaning into that a little bit more is something I'm going to do my own research and see what I can find on digital twins
Yep.
and what I've seen out there. But yeah, this
Oh, by
was,
the way, one of the things I saw, I did a search which would be really interesting on you for you on was SaaStr, that comes SaaStr,
yeah, I know
which
that
is
one.
the event. How they are using AI agents and the teams that they were using AI, how they were using AI for, and I thought it was fascinating. Like there's bleeding edge, and then there's like raw gashing open wound edge, which I'd say they are. So I think that's super interesting, and I would look into that. I would also say that I also did then see an article that their Salesforce bill had tripled in 1 year because of the amount of
AI
seats
agents.
essentially, or licenses that the agents were taking through their subscription. So also note to self, be very careful.
Yeah, interesting. That is definitely something. Yeah, well, and I think I saw you say you max tokens like on a regular basis
Oh
using
my
AI.
gosh.
I had to
And
stop using Cowork as much as like whenever I'm experimenting with Cowork, I'm like, all right, I have 10 minutes to do this. Otherwise, I will be out of tokens for the next 6 hours. And I'm like, what do I
I
do? I
don't
can't use my brain that much.
don't actually like co-work. I don't haven't connected anything to my email because I find that when I am building things through AI, I don't retain it in the same
Mm.
way. It's sort of it's doesn't go deep into the brain. So I haven't connected it to my email. And what I dislike about co-work, and sorry to nerd out to anybody that's not even interesting, co-work works on your desk on a desktop version. I work from a
Hmm.
laptop and my desktop, right? And I have two computers running at both times. When you are working in co-work on one, it does not carry over to the other like it does in a chat.
Yeah. So I
Not
use
work.
it for like regular research that it's like every Sunday it delivers like, hey, here are some leads you should probably think about reaching out to for
Yeah.
XYZ reasons. And like give me, I have it pulling content from Event Marketer, Exhibitor, our own blog to be like, this is what you should probably talk about this week. So little
That's
things like
that's
that.
great application. That's the perfect application for it, right?
Yeah, I don't have it doing work for me because I don't connect it to systems. I don't feel comfortable doing that. I'm like, what am I going to break if I do this? So I avoid it.
Exactly. Or who am I going to email and say the wrong thing? Or yeah.
I do that on my own. I don't need AI to do it.
Yeah.
Well, Nicola, this was a pleasure. I think we could easily talk another 45 minutes if we had the time, but I'm sure you were jumping into a meeting in the next couple of minutes if I had to guess. And no, I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks so much for having me. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. And now, if you walked away with one thing you'll use, we did our job today. Event Experience Experts drops every week. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and check us out on YouTube if you want to watch. I'm Jay Minash. See you next time.